Well, having discussed part two of the essay, The Function of Criticism by T.S. Eliot, now we shall go ahead with the third part. So, in the third part, Eliot again refers to Murray. Murray believes that there exists outside authority, and this is spiritual and divine, as we believe in God. No, this outside authority, the supreme power. Murray believes in the existence of this outside authority, which is spiritual and divine. So this is something no, which is opposed to the inner voice, and this inner voice is something which is contrary to the inner voice, the outside authority. It guides us toward the right path. That's what Murray believes. So he believes in spiritualism as well, morality and spirituality together. Uh, Actually, T.S. Eliot criticizes this particular attitude as vigoury. There were political parties in England, Tories and Whig. If you have read Jonathan Swift's book, novel, fiction work, Gulliver's Travel, in that work, you come across these two parties, Whig and Tory. So he called them vigoury. So this inner voice is opposed, this is contradictory, sorry, not contrary, I can say, uh, to the outside authority, which guides us towards the right path. So this is a spiritual path, we can say. Further, he thought that it is perfect and the inner voice must struggle to achieve perfection. Your inner voice is guided by the outside authority. Okay, that outside authority is the spiritual and divine. So maybe he's referring to God. Okay, and this authority is perfect. And the inner voice must struggle to achieve that perfection. So he draws a line between human desires and divine authority. It is Nuri who draws this line between human desires, instinctiveness. We have our own wishes, our own desires. And again, there is a divine authority to control our inner voice, to guide our inner voice. And our inner voice must struggle to achieve the perfection as guided by the spiritual and divine voice. So this suggests a line between human desires and divine authority. But T.S. Eliot disagrees with this particular view put forth by Middleton Murray. According to Eliot, the search for perfection is small and petty thinking, because it bounds one to conform oneself to unquestioned authority. Okay, means this particular belief, the search for perfection, makes you bound. In Eliot's view, this search for perfection is small and petty. Petty means trivial, of less importance, of no significance. Okay, it's a petty thinking. It is not a grand thinking, because it bounds a person. One means person to conform. Conform means to agree with, to go in accordance with, to conform oneself to unquestioned authority. Once you believe in the outside authority, you do not question that authority. And according to T.S. Eliot, this is small and petty thinking. So T.S. Eliot was of the opinion that the function of criticism is to quest for some common principles, not for perfection. It is quest. Quest means a thirst, a quest for common principles. common principles for the perfection of art. That's what he says. A search for common principles, general principles, the principles which are applicable to every piece of art, which will bring perfection in art. And this function can only be served when the tradition of art is followed. That's what he believed. The earlier essay was titled as Tradition and Individual Talent. When an individual searches for common principles for the perfection of art, and this particular search becomes a kind of function of criticism. And when criticism, okay, serve this function, then only the tradition of art is followed, and which has been derived from the long experience of ages. That's what he says. So he's a traditionalist by his approach. The tradition of art is derived from the long experience of ages. So somewhere is going in line with John Dryden, T.S. Eliot, Alexander Pope, Samuel Johnson, etc., the neoclassicists. They also believed in this kind of tradition because tradition is established. Tradition of art, especially, has been derived from the long experience of ages. Therefore, the function of criticism is to search for some common principles to bring perfection of art. So this is how he talks about what we call the function of criticism. Then in the final part, the fourth part, which is the concluding part of the essay, T.S. Eliot says that some intellectually weak people like Arnold and Murray, even he criticizes Matthew Arnold, and then he criticizes Murray. You can understand, he calls them intellectually weak people. So these people consider criticism better than creating art. They give priority to criticism. Those people who think that criticism is better than creative art or creating art are mentally weak, intellectually weak, because T.S. Eliot believes that all arts have creativity. Now, what is creativity? The desire to produce something from creative imagination, which comes. The creative art comes from the desire to produce something from creative imagination. And a creative text, that is literary criticism, a text of criticism, can be only through criticism, which includes analysis, evaluation, construction of this work, the creative art. Means you cannot imagine the existence of criticism without creative art. Criticism exists because creative art exists. How can you talk about criticism without creative art? Okay. Further, he thinks that criticism and creative art coexist and they go hand in hand. A critic who is related to criticism and a writer, he is related to creative art. A critic, as opposed to a writer, analyzes the creative art or creative text only and then writes. Means what? When he reads a poem, when he reads a novel, or when he reads a play, then only he can analyze the creative text. And then only it is possible for him to write something. So criticism is possible only if creative aspects are present. Therefore, according to T.S. Eliot, criticism is not creative. Okay. So he questions rather Matthew Arnold's preference for critic rather than the writer. You might be knowing that Arnold was initially a poet, Matthew Arnold, but later he preferred criticism and he became a full-time critic, and he gave priority to criticism. We studied an essay by Matthew Arnold, The Study of Poetry. So Arnold was one of the famous critics of his period, but T.S. Eliot criticizes him as an intellectual weak person because he gives priority to criticism over poetry over literature, creative art. So this is really objectionable in T.S. Eliot's view. So this is how we understand his, let's say, the function of criticism. There is some more part that I want to discuss. Before that, I would like to uh, just close this particular session.